Rome Plan Commission public hearing and regular meeting to order for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 4 o'clock p.m. Roll call starting on my right.
Jamadi here.
Jantek here.
Williams here.
Baker.
Goldman.
Halverson.
Weisinger.
Also present are Town Administrator Jamie Gebert, Zoning Administrator Emily Zeddies, and Town's Attorney Nick Flanagan. Item number 3 is to certify the posting of the meeting. Emily?
The agenda for the May 10 Plan Commission was posted at the following locations: April 26, 2022, Rome Municipal Building at 1:40 p.m., Leicester Public Library of Rome, 1:53 p.m., Nakusa Port Edwards State Bank, 1:48 p.m. It was emailed to the Wisconsin Daily Tribune at 7:44 a.m., and it was emailed to the town website at 2:39 p.m.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jerry, second by Larry to approve the agenda. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is a citizen comment portion of the agenda. Jamie, do you have any cards from anyone?
I have no citizen comment cards.
As the town administrator explained to most of you, I'll just read this section. The commission will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the commission begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. Next section on the agenda is no action contemplated except possible referral of future agendas. Item number 6, informational updates, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Anybody have anything they would like to bring forward?
What time is road cleanup this weekend, on Saturday?
After the meeting at 10 o'clock roughly.
But the meeting's at 10, so is road
No, the
cleanup?
meeting's at 9.
The meeting's at 9, so approximately 10.
Yeah.
Got it.
I would just like to mention that we have a new fire chief that's been selected. His name is Mark Kane, and he's going to be sworn in to his new office Monday, May 16th at 6 o'clock p.m. here in the main building. Anyone else? Hearing nothing, then we'll move on to item number 7, which is to open the public hearing. 7A, consideration of proposed comprehensive plan map 9 amendment from forestry to residential and zoning map amendment from FR forest and outdoor recreation to R4 rural residence district relating to the property owned by Ann and Gustav Kaufman, described as follows: Lot 1, certified survey map 3500, section 35, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a property identification number of 030-01107-0010, total of 80.4 acres. Emily?
There were 8 letters sent to property owners within 200 feet of the affected property. Jay Jasinski is here to represent the Kaufmans tonight.
I would also just add, so there's a map with all 3 of the rezonings that we're talking about, just pointed out. This is the one that's down here. If Jay, you wanna come up to the podium? But it was noted that these parcels were CSM'd in the past. They'd like to build a home on them, so they are joint, and they are split zoned. So this was an opportunity to fix that split zoning.
Jay?
So they're just looking to get it zoned R4, the entire 80, so they can build a house on it.
Is there any intent to split that property up in the future?
I know of not.
R5 would also fit that, because one section is already R5.
So the house is not over 100 or 1,500 square feet,
Okay.
so it would not meet that minimum square footage for R5.
There could be a conversation similar to what you did at last plan commission though, was to we put it on the deed that the lots.
Could not be.
Potentially, it could. I would just say that the interest the town should have would be to eliminate the split zoned on the parcel, and certainly this is a rural residential that fits with our ordinance, so it's not creating a nonconformity. So this would be a good fit for the R4.
Any other commissioner questions or Thank you, sir. 7B, consideration of proposed comprehensive plan map 9 amendment from forestry to rural residential and zoning map amendment from FR forest and outdoor recreation to R5 rural estate residence district relating to the property owned by Logan Nelson, described as follows: southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 11, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a property identification number of 030-715, total of area of 40 acres. Logan, you wanna step up?
So there, letters sent out to 8 property owners within 200 feet of this affected property. This property is in the northeast of your map, and Logan is here, to represent.
Yeah, we're just looking to build a house 1,500 square feet or bigger, so that's that we're gonna rezone it. Couldn't do anything else.
Is that gonna be right next to the existing building?
What's that?
Do you have an existing building on there now? Will this be right next to
Yes,
it
will be.
and not connected to it?
Not connected.
The only question I have is for Nick, and it has to do with things that have been happening at previous meetings, and Jamie said I could ask for clarification regarding the changing of the comprehensive plan maps. With the changes that are coming up with the joint review committee, with the maps changing, where these changes are taking place, and with the comprehensive plan changes that are currently happening, are more of this going to be occurring in conjunction with that plan changing? And is that beneficial for property owners as well as the town concurrently happening? And she said you could better explain that for me, being a new commissioner,
Yeah,
understanding that.
potentially. I can't promise that I can explain it better, but you're right. So there is a committee that is looking right now through our comprehensive plan. We'll be making recommendations. Thus far, we have not gotten to the land use section. We haven't gone through the future land use maps. Certainly, anything that's happening contemporaneously with their work is going to be reported to them, to be gone through. There will be a map, likely a map review and amendment recommended. So far, it's just been text amendments to the goals, objectives, and policies. We will work through that as best we can to make sure that everybody's communicating with everybody. But as we get the requests in for rezones, when they come in, and comp plan changes where it's not consistent, those will have to come in, and we'll report it to the committee as we're going through it. I would think that because those come in with some frequency, the map, if we are going to propose at that committee level some map changes, we may want to pull those and get those to the plan commission right away, rather than hold on them, just because the committee needs to kind of be communicating with the plan commission, so you all know kind of what the recommendations are coming from that committee. So we'll definitely be working through that as best we can. We are not to that point though, yet with the committee. At the next meeting, they will receive a copy of the future land use map to review, and I'm sure we will give them all the recent amendments that have been done to the future land use map, so they're aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Nelson? Thank you. 7C,
Can we
consider.
hold 7C until our?
I will do that.
arrives?
Okay, 7D, consideration of a site plan of operation for Slice of Heaven to be located at 1158 Snow Pass, described as follows. Lot 2, CSM 5205, also described as the northeast 1/4 southwest 1/4, section 8, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a property identification number of 030-01136-0597. Emily.
4 notice letters were sent to the properties within 200 feet of the affected property. So this property has been outstanding and needs to be brought into compliance. The area of all permanent signs shall not exceed 2 square feet of sign area for each linear foot of building footage with an additional 1 square foot per linear foot of the building on a corner lot. No individual sign of any sub-district shall be greater than 48 square feet. Slice of heaven linear footage allows for 156 square feet of signage being on a corner lot. Rebecca LeCount is here.
Ma'am?
So Rebecca's signage does fit within that 156. It would be 2 separate signs. I think that was included in your packet where they would be located. And then that piece about compliance is related to paving. This is one of our few that are left that's not paved that we would be asking to work with Rebecca to provide as part of our conditional use permit, a timeline to get this, one of these last properties paved.
Well, conditional use, what do you mean?
I'm sorry, site plan,
Okay, so as
Forgive
part
me.
of this process,
yes.
we're going to, the recommendation is that we would put that as a condition, on the findings of fact?
Ma'am, what can you tell us?
Well, my husband spoke with one of the contractors, and I believe they're booked for through the summer, so we wouldn't be able to get it done before we would be able to open, but I believe Jamie said that we have within the year for compliance, so yeah, we would.
It would be a determination of the committee, but I think it's good that they know that you wouldn't be able to get a contractor, right? Well, so don't wanna set an unreasonable time frame, but,
Right.
yeah, yep. But otherwise, you're looking to be, well, so, very exciting, this is coffee and bakery, right? Should've led with it, it's coffee and bakery. But you're looking to be open,
Well, we're shooting for the end of June, beginning of July.
So for those people that may be watching or aren't familiar with your property, do you want to just tell them what it is or where it's located, or?
It's located in Snow Pass, just around the corner, just right where the farmer's market is. And I've been open, I've had the bakery, and we started in Janesville. And so for the last 5 years, I do custom orders. And I did the winter farmer's market here, but I do everything from cupcakes and custom cakes and cream puffs, that kind of thing. So I will be hopefully doing the bakery and coffee shop starting at the end of June.
And this is the old, what everybody referred to as the old Stagecoach building?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Was this property out of compliance the last 3 years? And that was not dealt with at this time, or is that not within our purview to ask that question?
it was not dealt with within that time.
And can we ask that question?
I think if you just keep it to were there conditions put on the previous owner that were not met.
Thank you. Was my next question.
I'm not aware if it was brought up in their site plan of operation when that came through. If it was listed as a separate item or not, I'd have to go back and look. I know we talked extensively about residential because that unit was gonna be rented. But either way, Rome Town Center ordinance does require the paving, and we have special assessed other properties and paved. So it's been a topic on, that they would all need to come into compliance. I don't know if, maybe as a, it's probably not, it's a moot point at this point. I'm not sure if it came up as a piece of the sale or a conversation, but it is required as part of Rome Town Center that they be paved.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions for this lady? Thank you, ma'am. 7E, consideration of a site plan of operation for Heartland Custom Homes Incorporated to be located at adjoining parcels of 1144 County Highway D and 1146 County Highway D Also described as Lot 1 Certified Survey Map 5725 and Lot 1 Certified Survey Map 1015, both being located in the southwest 1/4, northeast 1/4, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with property identification numbers of 030-00637-0010 and 030-639. Emily?
4 notice letters were sent to the properties within 200 feet of the affected property. Heartland Custom Homes is renting the building at 1146 County Highway D and owns 1144 County Highway D. Note the future billboard desire in B1 district. So the billboards in the B1 district is 300 square feet, and then the Gateway district is 80 square feet combined sign for the maximum square footage. The US Bank monument sign is 48 square feet, and so that does not exceed that 80 square foot maximum. The rental display and the other signage need to be 100 feet apart and no more than 80 square feet total.
Thank you.
Matt is here to represent Heartland Custom Homes.
Good evening.
Evening.
What can you tell us about what's gonna happen?
All right. Well, we're a custom home builder out of Plover, Wisconsin, building about 20 houses a year. We're excited about everything happening in the Rome community. We're getting a lot of people coming up to us, even in Plover, to build down here. We build several homes a year down here, so we thought it was a great opportunity with all the great stuff happening in Rome to get down here and have a presence here. I was familiar with the Irwins that owned the property there at DCM, reached out to them, they were willing to sell that property, and then got a hold of Al Schmidt with Rome Realty for the bank. Again, just trying to get a presence down here, just trying to feel the market out, but I know with talking to zoning and stuff, there's just a lot of stuff happening down here and a lot of potential, I think, for us as Heartland Homes to help out in the area of building. I've built down here for years, 28 years in building. I love the Rome area, and I'm excited about what's happening down here. So we want to be down here as a local builder and help the community build. So our plan right now was to just kind of test the market a little bit. That's the deal with renting 1146, the bank, from Al, and hopefully see how things go this summer. Right away, we want to tear down the double wide trailer that's been an eyesore for years and start cleaning up that property. If things go well, we originally thought of maybe putting a model home on there, but now we're getting a lot of interest for commercial rental space. So I guess 1144, as far as the future plan there, might need to be revisited. But for us right now, we just really like to get going and operating out of the bank, as far as being able to visit with people and do business operations out of there over the summer. We have a 6-month lease right now, will end at the end of September. If things go well, we want to extend that and just get started down here building homes for the community.
So your site plan of operation that's included in the packet, I just wanna note, rental office means your rental office, yes?
Correct.
Okay, so, and then future model home, if that wouldn't be a future model home, if it would be lease space to other entities, that has to come back for site plan?
Correct.
Yep,
Yep.
just so we're, be
Yeah,
clear.
we'd love it to be a model home in our office, but once the buzz got out that we were coming down here, and started getting a bunch of phone calls to add commercial space, which we are a commercial contractor as well, so we know that as it's expanding down here, that's kind of why we want to be a part of it and provide those services in this area.
In that scenario where you build a model home with everything going well, what happens to the bank building? You just give up the lease and scoot over?
If things went well, in my opinion, I kind of talked to Al about having first right to offer to purchase that corner. There's only 4 corners here to deal with, and there's a great presence there on the corner. So I wouldn't hold that out. That like I said, if there's a stronger need for commercial property, the bank's in pretty good shape and would be easily to conform into our main office and then expand into commercial property on the other area.
So you're talking commercial property, what, do you have something in mind?
Similar to what's down the road here, just a multi-space, small venue, 1,000 square foot rental space for whatever commercial businesses wanna come down. One person that reached out to us is an insurance agency, they'd love to have a office space down here, you know, those type of things, more just commercial office space than, retail space or anything like that.
Similar to MPB. We would also just note on signage regulations, so there is an existing rental sign there and there's a rental display. Both can't stay. One's gotta be moved, they have to at least be 100 feet apart and it couldn't be more than 80 square feet in total. So,
Yep.
one has to move soon.
That will happen, that's in the works, yep.
Tomorrow would be cool.
What's wrong with today?
There might be, there's a tornado warning.
Yeah. Might be not tonight, yeah.
We're harsh, not heartless.
Any other questions by any commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, sir. 7F, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 437 Duffers Trail, owned by James and Tracy Palmer, also described as Lot 12 of Aspen Green addition to Lake Arrowhead, southeast 1/4 northwest 1 section 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-2828. Emily?
I'll do short-term rentals.
Okay.
So there were 12 notice letters sent for 437 Duffers Trail. We did get correspondence back from one resident, that was included this afternoon, at your desk. Again, this applies for all of the short-term rentals, but we'll just say it now and then, we won't have to repeat it for all of them. But we do not prorate short-term rental licenses, so if the properties are able to be rented, if all of their items are taken care of and they're able to be rented tomorrow, the renewal is July 1, and they would have to pay the $500 to be licensed for next year and provide any updated materials that would need to be provided, that potentially insurance or tourist rooming house license. Tonight we would set that occupancy number. We do recommend an occupancy of 12 for this facility and 6 for vehicles to be parked on hard surfaces, not on lawns. And then any other conditions that you would set as part of the property. I would note that the resident letter that you did receive tonight, they did ask to have their name removed from that, which is why you see it blacked out.
Okay, is there anyone here representing that property?
James Palmer is, and he can come on up to the podium.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Could you tell us what your plans are, or what you want to do?
Yeah, so my family and I were just really looking forward to take advantage of everything Lake Arrowhead has to offer. And with that, we want to supplement the cost of ownership up here with short-term renting.
This would be the Palmer's second short-term rental. They do currently already have one.
Okay. Commissioner questions?
Do you have a property manager within 25 miles?
We do, yes.
And that's recorded with the town?
I don't believe that's part of the licensing requirement, but we do have a property group.
And we would ask that if it would be set as a condition, we would ask for that contact information to be provided prior to licensing.
Did I miss that on the licensing?
It doesn't state within 25 miles. It's usually handled as part of a conditional use permit. It may not have been when you did your first property, but we've done it probably for the last year, maybe 18 months.
Well, we want to have one anyways. I mean, it's important to react. And, you know, owning the last one for 4 years, we've been, you know, just kind of surprised just how great people take care of the property. We've had 0 complaints. The police have never came to our property. Talked to our neighbor on it, you know, every time we're up here, and he keeps a pretty good eye on it too. And,
Where is your other property?
it's on Bromley Way.
Nick, I got a side question. Is hypothetically someone has multiple properties, do we consider any, like if there were any complaints, anything like that?
If you're saying if there was a complaint on a different property,
Yeah, for the
If
same
that would
property
apply
manager or
to
the
the-
property, yes.
so they have to have short-term rental licenses on each property.
Right.
those certainly will be struck against, the property it relates to. In this case, I guess it's.
Yeah, in this case,
it's
obviously,
irrelevant,
it's relevant.
And
in
I don't know if it's ever come up. but,
Okay.
In the
Fair
event that there was a, revoked conditional use permit or revoked license, I think it would be a material point to consider, if they then were trying to get the short-term rental license on a different property, if that makes sense.
Sure. And sorry to use you for context for that
That's a
question.
good question. I would like to put a consideration on the proration, you know, that when the ordinance says that the renewal is on or before June 30th, you know, we're what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks away by the time this gets done. I mean, if the $500 can't be a profit center, so what would be the point in paying $500 for 5 weeks just to pay it again? We don't have to redo the inspections, all those carryovers, so a consideration on that would be appreciated. Since this isn't for us, it's not a profit center, it's the ability to own a house, so to spend an additional $500 for 5 weeks, it's gonna be tough.
I would say staff time is the same, so, and it covers, it is not a profit center for the town. $500 just covers the staff resources that we put into it. It maybe doesn't, I mean, if you added my time into it, it probably doesn't cover staff time.
So in this case,
I
they're
would also
required,
just make a quick comment that, because on that point, that the plan commission doesn't determine.
Yeah.
Correct.
The waiving of any fees.
Any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I have a question for Nick and Jamie before we continue on with this. This short-term rental thing keeps coming up constantly, and we're constantly being ridiculed for doing it, for allowing it, I guess I should say. Is there anything that can be published, either on the website or whatever, to explain that a little more thoroughly to the residents?
Sure, potentially. You're saying as far as what we're required to do,
Mm-hmm.
what we don't have control over, you're saying?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there can be some messaging that gets put up there related to short-term renting. I mean, I understand the concern, and certainly, we've adapted as best we can to what we're now required to do and what we can't do, right?
But the letter that we received today is a instance of what a lot of people understand is we're just letting it happen. And as we know, there's not much we can do about it. So.
I think we've explained that time and time again.
We have, but it's not getting to the right ears, and I don't know what would be the proper way to try to get it out to.
Well, and this individual is part of where we receive the property, there's a property owners association as well that, could play a part in explaining maybe their choice in not, restricting that.
And we do include, I think this was Supervisor Goldman's idea, we do include with all of the properties within 200 feet, the ordinance, the piece about short-term rentals, the state law change, a briefing about that, and about host compliance. So they are getting those additional pieces of information, of explanation, along with the Plan Commission agenda.
So the letter that we got today, is he within the 200 feet?
Yes.
So he got the letter and he just didn't understand it, apparently.
That I can't speak to, but they did receive the letter, which is what stimulated the email.
they got the information, not reading it.
Yeah, we can't force him to read it, I guess, but, okay, thank you very much.
Item 7G, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Short-term rental at the property located at 425 13th Drive, owned by 13th Drive LLC, also described as lots 10 and 11 of Double Bogey addition to Lake Arrowhead, southwest 1/4, northeast 1/4, section 19, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-02973-0705. Emily.
I'll take short.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Split and divide. So 10 notice letters were sent to properties within 200 feet. We would recommend a maximum occupancy here of 8, vehicles of 4, again, to be parked on hard surfaces. All the previous things stated about licensing would apply here. Again, we didn't receive any comments back, and Katie McCarthy? Yep, is here to represent the board. Come on up to the mic.
Hi.
So I'm here in place of Jordan Powell. This is a property that he wants to use for a short-term rental. This is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And it's in Lake Arrowhead, and it overlooks the golf course. There is an attached garage and a detached garage. So in the garage that's attached, there's space for 2 cars to park in. The detached garage has space for an additional 2 cars to park in.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Hearing nothing, then you're all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman, do we want to go back to C?
We can do that.
Thank you.
Item 7C is consideration of the proposed zoning map amendment from Rome Town Center District to B1 Business relating to the property owned by Town of Rome described as follows. Part of Lot 1 CSM 5947, also described as Northeast 1/4 Southwest 1/4 Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin. Part of parcel identification number 030-01136-0575, total area 1.995 acres. Emily.
So there are 8 letters sent out to property owners within 200 feet of the affected property. So with the town's offer to purchase, it included the following language. If the property is not zoned for retail businesses use, at the time of the seller's acceptance of the offer, buyer will, after such acceptance, file an application to have the property rezoned. All reasonable expense incurred in filing and processing such application for rezoning shall be paid by buyer. Dax is here to represent Quick Trip.
And Emily, just so I'm clear, I believe they are planning on CSM and combining these parcels?
Yes.
Which then also goes to one zoning designation for the single parcel.
Correct, so, we've negotiated with the city, town of Rome to grab that extra almost 2 acres of land to allow for a second access up to Geneva Trail and allow for some parking. Part of our due diligence is to separate the tract of land, lot 1, and create 2 lots, so the town has another 2 acres to sell behind us on that back corner. And with that, the rezoning, then zones us the same as what Quick Trip is zoned today. Any questions for Luke?
I have none.
Commissioners, questions?
This was all discussed as part of the sale, acceptance of the offer.
Through the steps, right?
I was expecting the, when are you opening question?
The 19th, hopefully that hasn't changed.
Yep, we're actually, I think, a day ahead of schedule. but
Yeah, I'm about
that
to
can
say
change tomorrow.
18th, right? Not that I'm counting down.
We are all counting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Move on to 7H. Consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Short-term rental at the property located at 1344 Bogey Trail, owned by Joshua and Lauren Bogrand, also described as Lot 17 of Bogey addition to Lake Arrowhead, Northwest 1/4, Northeast 1/4, Section 19, 20, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-02909-0516. Jamie.
So 8 notice letters sent within 200 feet of the affected property. Again, all the items previously mentioned about short-term rentals would apply. This evening, you did get distributed this handout, so in conversation, we'll have Josh, who's the property owner, come up to the podium. But We, in doing the math of this property, both from what was originally submitted in the property file, we do reflect an occupancy of 9 and vehicles of 6. The measurements down here are ones that Josh recently took and feels like could expand his occupancy to 10. I did it twice and I had Emily do it once just to make sure. And again, we did it from property file, from the documents of when the home was constructed. But wanted to have the conversation about the measurements that were provided, and a potential occupancy of 10. But right now, we would be recommending 9 and 6 for vehicles.
Sir?
Yeah, as Jamie mentioned, I'm the property owner. Just to note in the file, Jamie, in case, because I noticed one of the other ones, I own the lot just west of me too, if it matters, 1346, in case you need to note it. But yeah, as Jamie said, the only thing really that came up in our discussions was when I had submitted the floor plan as well as what they have on file is probably from the builders. And then I used a listing since I wasn't on the site when I submitted the occupancy and things like that. So when I got to the home after she mentioned the 9, I said, well, let me just maybe measure the bedrooms and the living area just to kind of see how close, or if it's for some reason off. And I don't know if when people build or list it, you know, they kind of round it off, things like that. So I think we found a few things, and according to Jamie, we're about 22 square feet short to get to that 10th. So I just asked that you'd consider it, because I did find about a half a foot or 3/4 foot in the living room and one of the bedrooms, which would make that difference up. So I just asked for consideration and kind of take it from there, I guess.
So you said 9 vehicles?
6 vehicles. 9 people.
9
occupancy, 6 vehicles.
Yeah, it's a 3-car attached garage with a large concrete slab. Probably accommodate 2 or 3 cars easily as well, so the vehicles aren't really the issue, obviously.
And you sent out how many letters?
This one was 8.
And you received no,
I didn't receive feedback on this one.
and there's how many, do you know how many of those are permanent homeowners around there?
The only way to tell that would be whether addresses are local or not local. I mean, I can look and I could do a quick search, but I don't know that that would be a exact number.
I understand.
I know the gentleman to the east of me is. The people actually to the west are, their home I think is listed still.
It is still listed, that one?
There's a gentleman on the north side across that, I think it's a gas pipeline going through there.
Right.
He is a permanent resident. I've been introduced to him already.
Do you have a property manager?
Yeah, I gave the name, I think, in my initial application.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So with the revised measurements that are provided, that puts us over to an occupancy of 10 based on the requirements? I'm not clear.
So if you, Josh and I talked that referring to the box that's in the peach color here, I don't know that the extra space in the bedrooms I would count as livable space. I think it's egress and exit from the bedrooms.
Yeah, she's correct. We talked through that. There's kind of a little hallway going into the master and things like that. Even if you take out those little spaces that we had discussed, there's a lower level bedroom that was easily 20 square feet short, and that's just a rectangle. I didn't even have an extra line for that, and then the living room was about, I think, 15 square feet short. Again, it's about a half a foot kind of each way. So when I do just using inches and using basic math, I kind of came up with a little bit extra. So we were 22 square feet short just on the original floor plan. So it's just kind of being, I know from, if it's a personal residence, nobody really cares about that. When it comes down to these kind of metrics, I guess it could make a difference. So just one more instead of the 9.
We just pulled the property file in and then looked at the original building plan and then took those square footages too. And so those square footages would also relate back to 9 occupancy.
So is the building plan the column of original square feet?
No.
Yeah, well, that's the one I submitted, and I think that you had the original column.
Well, but I think that came off of the listing. So original square foot came off of the listing for the home.
Yeah.
It went to,
You're asking about the original column and then.
Yeah, in the peach box.
So the third, I think it's the third one.
Yeah.
Original square footage, not from the property file.
not from property file, no.
May I ask a clarification question?
I got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry.
So actual square foot, was that you with the tape measure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then original square foot Where did that column come from again?
The property listing, this property was recently purchased, so it came from the realtor likely who put the property listing together.
Okay. And we were close to the original bill that, you know, on those two, very close, she said, I think, with the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, and I'm sorry. So
Lord.
this is for clarification, because I don't, because being new, when you say vehicles, does that include recreational vehicles, like a boat, or if they bring Sea-Doos or things like that, or just cars?
It's a great question that has been asked before, and if it's wanted to be noted separately, it's been asked to be placed as part of conditions. So this includes vehicles, not recreational vehicles, not ATVs, UTVs, boats, trailers.
So you're talking 6 cars, which could then be more recreational vehicles, such as boats and, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
But there has been times where there's been, other items that have been noted that have been added. If there's been concerns, I can think in some areas where they've had shorter driveways or they've been in cul-de-sacs.
Okay.
There's been items noted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we leave it at?
You stay and then we go to the action items,
Oh,
so it's
no
just,
worries.
yep.
Appreciate it, thank you.
7I, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 1508 Sumac Trail, owned by Jeffrey and Mary Trott, also described as lots 102-103 of Kingswood addition to Lake Arrowhead, southeast 1/4, section 14, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-3309. Jamie.
There were 12 notice letters sent to properties within 200 feet of the property. All previous things mentioned about short-term rentals again apply here. This, we would be recommending an occupancy of 8 and vehicles 4. And to represent the property tonight is both Jeff Trott, the owner, and Michelle Peterson, the property manager. I can let them fight over who wants
Folks?
to come up.
Sure. Hi.
Go ahead. Yeah, my wife and I purchased this home back in April of 2021, and we just purchased a different home that we're moving into full-time, but we would like to turn this into a short-term rental. So that's where we're at.
Ma'am?
And I'm gonna manage the property for him. I manage another Airbnb out here. I live right around the corner. And, at my other Airbnb, we use a Ring camera, so we keep surveillance on my phone at all times, and had really good success at the other Airbnb with that, so very hands-on property manager.
Okay. Commissioner, questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
7J, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 1167 Fairway Trail, owned by Mark and Leah Westfall, also described as lot 28 of Wood Green addition to Lake Arrowhead, northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, section 20, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-4741. Jamie?
So this would be an increase to occupancy. We have several tonight on the agenda. This will kind of be our first going into this of increasing occupancy, where individuals have added bathrooms or egress windows, items that would increase occupancy. So there were 9 notice letters. So even though the Westfalls have gone through this process prior, it was within such a time frame that they would have to come back through public hearing and renotice. So 9 notice letters were sent, and we would be looking for an increase from 8 to 12. Given that these are construction items, I have been in contact with the building inspector just to make sure that items have been completed and signed off on before they would have that increased occupancy. And he was comfortable with all of the ones that are on tonight.
And I just have one other comment, and that is, so it's not about timing, as much as by ordinance, with conditional use permits, amendments to, any approved conditional uses, do require a new permit, and all those procedures that go with a conditional use permit need to be followed. Once again, that's why these are back on as a public hearing.
And representing the property tonight would be Trevor from Vacasa, who is the property manager for this property.
I don't know if you guys need me, I just came up.
Okay, yeah, well,
You never know.
Right.
So, sorry, my question isn't for you. Back to what you just stated, Nick. So there is going to be a new conditional use permit
Yeah,
issued?
so by our ordinance, sorry. It says, any amendments to approved conditional uses, such as changes, additions, modifications, alterations, amendment of any aspect of the conditional use permit granted by the plan commission, shall require a new permit, which I think answers your question, so this would be treated as a new conditional use permit. And all procedures in place at the time must be followed.
Okay, so the conditions that existed on the existing conditional use permit need to be restated?
Yeah, or you could just say all the other conditions, because frankly, one of these is a request to amend one of your conditions, really. So, I mean, the other conditions that are in place can just be, you can restate those as still apply.
I'm not sure that we have
But yes, you are
those,
going to
but,
want to. If you want the conditions that existed prior to this to continue forward, you would want to restate those or just incorporate those into your motion in some way.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
do we know on the prior conditional use permit if it was stated up for, as far as, maybe you know, sir, was there a property manager
Yes.
mentioned?
Yes.
On the
So-
previous one?
We have a copy of it.
Yep, in the packet
It's in the
for each
packet.
of these is the prior findings of fact. And Chair, to your comment, yes, this was that, the property manager piece
I
was a
see,
condition.
thank you,
It's not true on the other ones though, so that would be if you wanted to add it.
okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Okay, thank you, sir. 7K, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 663 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 48 of Arbor Valley Meadows unrecorded subdivision, CSM 586, with a property identification number of 030-1264, adjusting the maximum allowed occupancy from 8 to 12. Jamie?
So for 663 Meadow Lane, there were 7 notice letters that were sent. Tonight representing the property is Paula. She's their property manager. I'll have her come up to the mic. Again, similar things apply to what was previously said. This would be an increase from 8 to 12. The building inspector has been monitoring the properties and will ensure that they are completed within code standards.
And then one other comment to this, looking at the original findings of fact, this one did not have the property manager requirement in there, just for your information.
Do you have anything to add, ma'am?
No, we're just finishing off the basements of our previous short-term rental. So this will be for the 3 different houses that are on the agenda.
Jamie, I got a question. You said that the building inspector would be monitoring, so we're not 100% complete with this, the changes at the property?
Are you 100% done?
No, not 100.
Yeah.
He came once and, in the middle of the contractor was just about finishing up all the detail work right now. And so then I'm waiting till the 3rd house gets done with the electrical, and then he said he'll come back then. And he didn't see any problems, cause he had been, 2 years prior, he had been the guy that had been out to approve everything the first time around.
In this case, though, the egress windows were already in the basement.
Yes.
So this is really through adding bathrooms, that this, and this additional living space in the basement. So, but Dan has sent me an email to say that it is on track and that he has monitored it, yes.
Any other questions, commissioners?
So the revised license won't be issued until he approves it, he signs off.
I think that could be a part of the condition, that it would be a final inspection would be completed by the building inspector, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Stay there. 7L, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 676 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 38 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision CSM 467, with a property identification number of 030-1254, adjusting the maximum allowed occupancy from 8 to 12. Jamie?
So for 676, there were 6 notice letters sent, no comments received. All previous things mentioned still apply.
Again, there was no property manager on the previous,
Correct. And none
That
of
apply, yeah, that applies to
All
all the
three of 'em?
remaining, ones, yeah.
and is this one not completed yet also?
Correct, they're all about the same.
All 3 of them?
Yes.
Any other questions? And the last one, 7M, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 682 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 39 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision, CSM 467, with a property identification number of 030-1255, adjusting the maximum allowed occupancy from 8 to 12.
Again, 6 notice letters, no comments received. All previous things mentioned apply.
Commissioners, questions? Thank you, ma'am. Item ready to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
You got it.
So anxious.
Motion by Dan, second by Larry to close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, discussion of possible action regarding the meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 12th, 2022.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, second by Dan to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing nothing, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, discussion and possible recommendation to the town board. Consideration of proposed comprehensive plan map 9 amendment from forestry to residential and zoning map amendment from FR Forest and Outdoor Recreation to R4 Rural Residence District relating to the property owned by Ann and Gustav Kaufman, described as follows. Lot 1 CSM 3500, Section 35, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a property identification number of 030-01107-0010, total area 80.4 acres.
Motion to recommend to the town board, the proposed change on the mentioned property from forestry to R4.
Second.
So this one, and actually, the next two, those all do have findings of fact, are findings of fact, also part of your motion?
I'll amend my motion to include the findings of fact.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jeff to approve or to recommend to the town board the changes. Is there any other discussion by the commissioners? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 11, discussion of possible recommendation to the town board, consideration of proposed comprehensive plan map 9 amendment from forestry to rural residential and zoning map amendment from FR Forest and Outdoor Recreation to R5 Rural Estate Residence District relating to the property owned by Logan Nelson, described as follows. Southwest 1/4 of the northwest corner of Section 11, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a property identification number of 030-715, total area 40 acres.
I'll move to approve.
Along with the findings of fact.
With the
And so
finding of fact.
It's a recommendation to the town board, so you're moving to recommend to the town board?
Town board, yes.
And adopt the findings of fact?
And adopt the findings of fact, yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Lori, second by Jerry to approve the recommendation to the town board for the zoning changes. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12, discussion of possible recommendation to the town board, consideration of the proposed zoning map amendment from Rome Town Center District to B1 Business relating to the property owned by Town of Rome, described as follows. Part of Lot 1, CSM 5947, also described as northeast 1/4, southwest 1/4, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, part of parcel identification number of 030-01136-0575, total area 1.995 acres.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the town board and to change, what am I doing, Nick?
So, this is the recommendation to the town board to rezone. This does not need a
Rezone.
comp plan amendment.
Yes.
And then this one also has a findings of fact, so if you could also incorporate that.
Yep,
in your motion.
to rezone and to include the findings of fact.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jerry to recommend to the town board the changes. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
If you have a plan, a town board item, it will go on the 19th, May 19th, 5 o'clock, if you wanted to join us.
Item number 13, discussion and possible recommendation to the town board, consideration of a site plan of operation for Slice of Heaven to be located at 1158 Snow Pass, described as follows. Lot 2, CSM 5205, also described as northeast 1/4, southwest 1/4, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin. Property identification number of 030-01136-0597.
I will move to recommend to the town board consideration of the site plan of operation for Slice of Heaven, with the exception of the staff recommendation that the additional condition be placed on this site plan and the plan of operation, a timeline for the paving of the driveway, that it's been outstanding and needs to be brought into compliance, and I'd be happy to explain why.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
You're gonna put a timeline on paving or completing that
That was an exception. I heard that as an exception.
exception?
Yes, I would make an exception for that recommendation by staff.
I heard that as that's
Right.
not part of,
My recommendation to the town board.
and is your motion also then to adopt the findings of fact as presented?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh. Did I hear that right? That you're saying they don't need to come in compliance with the driveway?
Yes.
I was gonna be generous and offer October 31st of 2023. That's what I was gonna do.
Well, I'd like us to discuss it a little bit further and then, but since Jerry, if we give them a,
Well, we have a second, we can discuss it, but,
Right.
Can we get into the discussion, Chairman?
Certainly.
Yep.
the reason I'm asking for the exception, and we ultimately come to maybe a deadline, is maybe there should be there was a previous property owner that didn't come into compliance, given the fact that the town has a policy and an ordinance, and that wasn't enforced. I think there's a responsibility that was missed. And now the current business owner has to deal with that, and we're putting a condition on them that they have to deal with it. So I'm wondering if maybe there's there's a missed responsibility that we're now putting on a new business owner. So if we give them a future deadline, but maybe there's something the town needs to work out with them, that was ultimately our responsibility, that we didn't force a previous owner to comply with.
Regardless of that, I mean, we made Quick Trip change sign plan to come into, come into compliance with our sign ordinance.
Yes, I understand that. But I wasn't here for that. But I'm reading this, and from what I heard, there was a previous owner there for 3 years that didn't comply with the town ordinance, correct?
They were
And
all
we have
sent
an
notices.
ordinance.
We're all sent notices.
Yep.
And I think in some cases, with,
I'm-
if the town, we're getting to the situation now where we have sold the lots and then they go for sale. And previous to that, we've sold the lot, and if it hasn't been developed or something has happened, we've purchased it back and we've had that control. So rather than a non-follow-through, maybe a sale occurred.
Okay.
Well, I would also add, so this, as some background, this property didn't have a developer's agreement, first off. You're right, the town went through a rather laborious process to get compliance in
Right.
Rome Town Center or Alpine Village at that time.
Previously, right.
This property location at that time was a bit unique in that the property owners the town was working with them, but we hadn't actually moved it to special assessment stage. I can't speak to what exactly happened. I don't have the property file in front of me with the
Okay.
last owner.
Okay.
But it would be, for the same reason that we did go to the special assessment process, it would be a good idea to get to compliance with our ordinance requirements, and figure out a timeline to do so.
I understand. I just feel bad for the new business owner that this
We're-
happened. So,
It's not that we're not flexible, but there's also the piece of just, as Nick is saying, that we need to have the conversation.
and I know I was there when we went through the compliance issue all those years ago, so.
Right, well, and this, to the larger point, when we did go through the special assessment process, it's not a really feel-good process, right? to
No,
go
it's
through
not.
that.
So-
So it's better to communicate those expectations at this point.
Right.
And just figure out a timeline to do it, than to come after the fact and say, here we are at special assessment again.
Okay. Well, I like Dan's idea, if the other commissioners are comfortable with that, if we could extend it out maybe to a different, further out date, that maybe we could give them till October 31st,
Or
Next
even like
year.
18 months or so. I mean,
even 18,
we
if
could-
the town feels
as long
comfortable.
as there's a timeline. My concern would be that there's no timeline to come into compliance.
Right, right. I just wanted to have that discussion, that it was unfortunate that there were 3 years that previous owner didn't, but now that we've,
Previous owner did pave the driveway with the understanding that we're not gonna use the parking lot. And that was, gonna be-
there's no paving there at all.
yeah, there's a driveway in the backside.
Slab there, yeah.
Yeah, a little concrete, okay. But,
The
all right,
other thing I would just mention, and we apologize that that's not in here, but I think there's a plan for a dumpster to be on the site, yes?
I have not heard back from, them to put a dumpster there. I would hope there would be, but I don't think they can put one on there, cause there has to be concrete underneath the dumpster, according to the state, so.
But if there was a dumpster placed, another common condition we've done in Rome Town Center is that it's screened, so it's not visible. So I guess I would ask if we would also be comfortable with adding that. Any dumpster would be screened.
dumpster, okay. So then I'll amend my motion.
You wanna amend your motion?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman? Okay.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll amend my motion then, that I'll move that we recommend to the town board consideration for the site plan of operation for Slice of Heaven, and include the staff recommendation, additional condition be placed on the site plan, for a timeline of 18 months, but to include a slab and screening for the required dumpster, and the time of paving of the driveway, and the findings of fact for Slice of Heaven.
So.
You
just-
wanna add
just
something
to
there.
clarify.
Just to
no,
clarify.
Just so I'm clear for the minutes, and for our findings of fact. What I was hearing was they weren't sure on the dumpster yet. So do we want the condition to say that if there is a dumpster, that it be screened? the requirements that may exist would exist, right, as far as putting a concrete slab, and that, if they decide to put a dumpster, I think our concern is that it be screened. And so I'm wondering if we want to make the condition be that if they do have a dumpster, that it be screened.
That's what I said, yes. Yes.
I heard concrete slab, and I didn't know if we were putting that as a requirement, that they put a concrete slab and put a dumpster in. I think it's their choice to have the dumpster. If they do put a dumpster, then they screen it. Just so I'm clear for the minutes.
And it would just have to be a hard surface underneath, so, but if dumpster screened, and 18 months would be, if you wanted to do November 30th, 2023.
If the other, if you're
That would be
comfortable.
if Jerry, I think Jerry seconded
No,
that.
Mr. Halverson did.
You would be comfortable with that amendment to the motion?
I'll amend my second.
Okay, so the amendment is that the recommendation to the town board is approved with the term for paving the parking area given to 18 months, and that if a dumpster is placed on the property, that it be properly screened
With the findings of fact.
with the findings of fact. Is there any other discussion?
I got a question. Was there an issue, Emily, was there an issue with the current signage that we had to address?
There
No,
was,
their signage complies to the standard within Rome Town Center.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 14, discussion and possible recommendation to the town board. Consideration of a site plan of operation for Heartland Custom Homes Incorporated to be located at adjoining parcels 1144 County Highway D and 1146 County Highway D, also described as Lot 1 CSM 5725 and Lot 1 CSM 1015, being located in the southwest 1/4, northeast 1/4, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with the property identification numbers of 030-637-0010 and 030-639.
I'll make a motion to make a recommendation, town board, to approve the site plan of operation for custom homes, Heartland Custom Homes, with the findings of fact and a condition that the signage on the property be brought into compliance with the town ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, second by Jeff, to approve or to recommend to the town board the site plan of operation, and that the signs are, and the findings of fact, and the signage be brought into compliance with the town's ordinances. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Short-term rental at the property located at 437 Duffers Trail, owned by James and Tracy Palmer, also described as Lot 12 of Aspen Green addition to Lake Arrowhead, southeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, Section 20, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-2828.
I'll make a motion to issue the conditional use permit for the property at 437 Duffers, including the findings of fact and additional terms of maximum occupancy of 12, maximum vehicles of 6 to be parked on hard surfaces only, a property manager on file with the town within 25 miles, and a term to be indefinite.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry, to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions laid out in the motion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 16, discussion and possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 425 13th Drive, owned by 13th Drive LLC, also described as lots 10 through 11 of double bogey addition to Lake Arrowhead, southwest 1/4, northeast 1/4, section 19, 20 town north, 20 town 20 north, pardon me, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-02973-0705.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the town board to approve the short-term rental license and conditional use permit at 425 13th Drive, including the findings of fact with the maximum occupancy of 8 and maximum vehicles 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, to have a property manager within 25 miles, and for the terms to be indefinite.
One question before we get to the second. Would your motion be to approve the
Right.
short-term rental conditional use permit, not?
Not a recommendation to the town board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Dan to approve the conditional use permit for the property at 425 13th Drive with the conditions as stated. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 17, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 1344 Bogey Trail, owned by Joshua and Lauren Bogarand, also described as Lot 17 of Bogey addition to Lake Arrowhead, northwest 1/4, northeast 1/4, section 19, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-02909-0516.
I'll make a motion to issue a conditional use permit for 1344 Bogey Trail, including the findings of fact, occupancy of 9, maximum vehicles of 6 to be parked on hard surfaces, the property manager on file with the town within 25 miles, and the term to be indefinite.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry, to approve the conditional use permit with the stated conditions. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 18, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 1508 Sumac Trail, owned by Jeffrey and Mary Trott, also described as lots 102 to 103 of Kingswood addition to Lake Arrowhead, southwest 1/4, southeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, section 14, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-3309.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit at 508 Sumac Trail, include the findings of fact, maximum occupancy of 8, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces only, with a property manager to be within 25 miles of the property, and the term to be indefinite.
Second.
Under discussion, I think Jeff said 508 instead of 1508, so I'll make that correction.
My mistake, read that wrong.
Amend my
1508.
Amend my-
Okay, and Jerry amends this second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Number 19, discussion of possible action, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 1167 Fairway Trail, owned by Mark and Leah Westfall, also described as Lot 28 of Wood Green addition to Lake Arrowhead, northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, section 20, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-4741, adjusting the maximum occupancy allowed from 8 to 12.
I'll make a motion to amend the conditional use permit for, what's the address here? 1167 Fairway Trail, is that correct?
Yes.
From 8 to 12, including the previous conditions on the previous findings of fact, but also that the vehicles must be parked on hard surfaces.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the condition, or to approve the amendment to the conditional use permit.
And can I ask one question to Jamie? I know the other ones, we had talked about the next ones, as still pending, the final inspection. Is this one as well, or is this one completed?
This one is completed.
Thank you.
With the stated conditions, is there any other discussion? Hearing nothing, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, before we would
Yes, ma'am.
proceed, Josh is just wondering on his parcel for 1344, he's had that consideration for 10. He just wanted to ensure before he left that that was a consideration when you put in your motion, that you wanted it at 9 and weren't further considering 10. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was kind of remembered as you guys were voting on it, you know, the actual measurements versus what was brought to the board originally. That's all I was asking, if that was thought of when you guys were voting.
I guess, can we converse?
Well, do we have to recall that
Yeah.
item, or I'm looking for
You can do a
guidance, Nick.
motion- Yeah, you can do a motion to reconsider. If somebody wants to reconsider it,
I just wanted to explain why I kept it
mean,
at 9, but
it's up to you, Mr. Chair, but, you can allow a response to that if you'd like to. I think that would be all right.
Okay, I guess then I'm looking for a motion to reconsider item number 17.
Somebody could make it if they wanted to, otherwise if you wanted to allow a response for it without the motion, I think you can do that, for a moment.
Okay, then Dan, item number 17.
since I made the motion, I'll explain why I left it at 9, because that follows the calculation that we've been following uniformly with all the permits that we've been issuing as of the last several years. And I don't want us to inadvertently create some sort of situation where we're getting challenged by others who might be close on square footage calculations as well.
Has that been brought up or anybody has challenged it or no?
Not to date that I'm aware of. Nick?
No.
No.
We have to use the property files that we have on, when we make those calculations, and so.
Even if they're rounded down or up based on the total mathematical square footage, I guess is all I'm asking to consider. If the, you know, if those building plans are, again, rounded, which probably are, nothing's exact, obviously, when you build a home. You know, even if they're rounded off, I guess is what you guys are holding ground to at that point, even if the math is, if you're using a square footage 150 first and 100 for the following occupancy, I get the formula. You know, it's basically rounded numbers at that point is what you guys are agreeing to use.
My understanding is we were still 22 square feet short, right?
On the original building time, yes. But when I go and
I believe, Nick, we already had the discussion on the question, right?
That would be a question to the chair.
The
but that's-
chair,
that's a
Mr. Chair, I believe.
Point of
we-
order, I suppose, as well.
Yes, point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, this is, discussion's already taken place regarding the Joshua's, theory that he should be allowed 10 people instead of 9. Is there any other discussion by members of the board as to why we want to leave it at 9 and not move it to 10 as far as the occupancy goes?
I mean, we follow the recommendation. We trust the staff to do the calculations.
Yes, I
And then
believe,
we have the formula we follow.
and I believe Dan respectfully responded to his question already.
And there's no need for any reconsideration on that item. Item number 20, discussion, I'm sorry?
Did we do 19 already? I'm sorry if I missed that.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Thank you, thank you.
Number 20, discussion and possible action amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 663 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 48 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision CSM 586, with a property identification number of 030-1264, asking to adjust the maximum allowed occupancy.
I'll make a motion to amend the conditional use permit for the property at 663 Meadow Lane, to amend occupancy from 8 to 12, including previous conditions on the last findings of fact, as well as vehicles to be parked on hard surfaces. And I noticed the property manager requirement was missing also, so I'd like to include the property manager on file with the town within 25 miles.
One other question. So this particular one is related to my last question, or the last agenda item. Do we want to make this subject to the final inspection?
Yes, I thought they were by default, but if they're not, then
I think
yes.
we want to make clear that it's not going to go up to that number of 12 until it's approved with the final inspection.
I'll second with that understanding.
Thank you.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the amendment to the conditional use permit with the conditions stated. Is there any other discussion?
I would just point out one thing, because technology is great. Someone sent me an email and they're watching the show from home. Thank you.
The show.
So
get my
hard
popcorn.
surface, when we talk about parking, hard surface does include gravel. So that's a hard surface, just can't be lawn, dirt, grass, but a hard surface would include gravel driveway.
Gravel or pavement.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, and then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 21, discussion and possible action amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 676 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 38 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision CSM 467, with a property identification number of 0301254, asking to adjust the maximum allowed occupancy.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for the property at 676 Meadow Lane, to include all the previous conditions, to increase the occupancy from 8 to 12, and to include a property manager within 25 miles of the property, and to be contingent upon a final inspection.
Second.
Under discussion, I want to make sure that the word amendment was used and not just the conditional use permit, if I heard it correctly.
I did not say that.
It's okay. And I'm sorry, I didn't know who seconded it.
I did.
Okay. So the motion by Dan, motion by Jeff, second by Dan to approve the amendment to the conditional use permit with the stated conditions. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I should have let Dan run the table with these.
Taking a lot of notes tonight.
Item 22, discussion of possible action, amendment to conditional use permit for the short-term rental at the property located at 682 Meadow Lane, owned by Dawn Tabbitt, also described as Lot 39 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision CSM 467, with a property identification number of 030-1255, asking to adjust the maximum allowed occupancy from 8 to 12.
I'll make a motion to amend the conditional use permit for the property at 682 Meadow Lane, from occupancy of 8 to 12, including the previous findings of fact and conditions listed therein, as well as a property manager on file with the town within 25 miles, vehicles to be parked on hard surfaces, and pending final inspection before issuance.
Motion by Dan.
Second.
Second by Jerry to approve the amendment to the conditional use permit with the stated conditions. Is there any other discussion?
Just one question, please.
Yes.
Just out of learning here. A CSM can have the same number for two different pieces of property? It says CSM 467 and then CSM 467 on both agenda items. Is that maybe just a?
It can,
Well,
it
so
can with lot,
you can have a lot 1 and lot 2 of a
two,
CSM.
yeah.
Oh, I'm just asking because
Yeah,
I'm
so
curious.
so it can. Yep.
Okay.
So a CSM is a means to divide parcels. It can have lot 1 and lot 2.
Even if they're far, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
multiple lots.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the amendment to the conditional use permit with the stated conditions. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 23, discussion and possible referral to a future agenda. Review potential draft language for zoning district requirements regarding allowed number of accessory structures and lot coverage by buildings.
So one request, and it was brought up earlier actually from a land use perspective. It was suggested at the earlier committee meeting that this might be a good opportunity as we, at the subcommittee is going to be going from comprehensive plan to reviewing some zoning ordinance provisions and making recommendations, that this be a good one to start off that process with, since you have reviewed it and made some suggested revisions. So if it would be all right with you, Mr. Chair, if we could table this until the next meeting, get the recommendations hopefully from the subcommittee, and then bring this back with their recommendations, just so we can kind of go through that process. I think this would be a good opportunity to do that.
Okay, there's been a request then to chair this, or table this until the next meeting. Is there any other discussion by anyone? And we will table it to the next planning commission meeting.
Thank you.
Item number 24, any agenda items that anybody needs to see appear on the June plan commission schedule, or agenda?
As hungry as we all are, I want to go back to your comment earlier about communicating this out. I mean, reading that email, I mean, on that Palmer, conditional use permit, that, can we look at our messaging? Can we see what we mail out? Can we, I mean,
Oh, sure, we can
You
bring
know-
what is included in the packet.
yeah, like, I don't, maybe it is just, we're just overwhelming them with information. If we could simplify it, or, I'm just spitballing ideas. I just know that the person who wrote that email got all that information and still wrote that email.
As part of informational updates, we can include in your packets the communication we send out, all of that. So you can have that, you can review it, and certainly if there's any feedback that you'd have to that process, we take that into account as we go forward.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I envisioned just going through it. I mean, it's hard when you have 500 agenda items, but going through and maybe doing an audit or something, and just reconciling what we said down and what we want to say, just to see if there's any gaps. I mean, because obviously there are.
You know you're never gonna hear from people who think you're doing a good job, right?
Never. I understand this. I absolutely understand this.
It's just that this keeps going on. I mean, what did we start this, 4 years ago? It just goes on and on and on, and it's, you hear it outside of this area too, that people, why is this happening, and
Well,
like,
it's increasing too, and I think this being my very first meeting, and see how many are on here, and most of them are at Arrowhead, I think our association has some work to do as well. And I think a lot of the disgruntled people are at Lake Arrowhead, because I hear a lot within our membership. And I think they just need to understand what is going on in that area, and you see other homeowner associations around the state and what they're dealing with and what they're doing within their lake associations. And
I
what
will say
the-
this, a qualified homeowners association can prohibit short-term rentals.
Yes, they can.
Yes.
And I've brought that up years ago already in 2016. I know a former commissioner tried to bring it up, and there are things that can be done. Dutch Hollow Lake is one of them. They prevented it for as long as they could. I know that they are allowing some now. So there are things that can be done. So it's a choice you make. It's a choice that you can work and do things with, so.
The biggest problem is how the bylaws of those associations is worded. In many cases, like Camelot, they have to have 100%.
Yeah, but
approval.
Arrowhead still exists as a bona fide homeowners association.
Right.
The only one that's left.
That's the
Yes.
only one left.
Are the
Arrowhead-
lakes, yeah.
And we have-
Arrowhead can't do anything about it.
I have
Well,
presented
that's
to
not-
Arrowhead's board too.
What?
Is that out of our hands?
It would be an Arrowhead decision, but I have presented to their.
And we do have very strict bylaws, and we have very strict covenants, and it's something that could be dealt with within certain within certain covenants.
And I also just wanna share, at this moment, we are limited, the number that are coming to you, so the meetings aren't so long. Like you,
So there's a backlog?
there is a backlog.
Yeah.
People are booked out now till September for short-term rentals coming through Plan Commission. And that's only because if I put them all on one agenda, we would be here till midnight, right? So we have broke them apart in order to make meetings manageable with other Plan Commission business.
Can we not, so this goes back to something, maybe this should be an agenda item then. Can we not create a subcommittee or something that has the authority to just handle those? Because that really, like, this last agenda item, when's this board ever gonna get to that if we spend the whole time talking about short-term rentals? And that's more meaningful.
That's a very good point.
So maybe we should talk about that.
And isn't there also something we as a town can also do to set a limitation? Because one of the things I have on my list for border review is what does it really truly do ultimately to our valuation as a town? Between what we have for full-time residents and our value and
Was that
the
a-
amount of short-term rentals we ultimately have.
Yeah, that question that's an assessor question that.
Right, exactly, for border review.
Maybe it's something that we need to add to a future Plan Commission agenda, because we would have to amend ordinance because of the way that it's set up now, it comes through plan. So that would have to probably also require a public hearing and recommendation to town board to.
A subcommittee, yeah.
Because I was sitting here the whole time thinking there's gotta be a better way,
Yeah.
sincerely.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of importance though to the notice of the neighbors and sending out that
Right.
information.
Absolutely,
That is handled through, it only applies to chapter 360 and handling through Plan Commission, right? If you take it out of chapter 360 and you just have it in licensing, you have to keep that piece within chapter 360 of zoning in order to have a public hearing.
So it might have to be like an ad hoc committee might be difficult.
Or leave it to staff.
But then you don't,
Yeah,
then
you
you
don't
don't get any
have-
public hearing.
You don't get any, yeah, and it has to be a public hearing. It has to be.
But it's certainly a conversation we could have. I mean, we've had the conversation in the past about if we wanted to amend the short-term rental process, yes.
Getting back to the next agenda items, what do you have, Emily?
Short-term rentals.
Canopies are gonna be on the next agenda.
What is?
Discussion about canopies for
Oh, Lord.
what it's regulating right now and what it should be.
And do you know roughly how many short-term rentals you might have on next month?
Next month I would have 4. 2 would be new. 1 would be returning for increased occupancy. 1 is an error that we would need to be correcting. So
Okay.
I was
there'd be
just,
4, and we try to limit to 4 per meeting.
just to throw this out here without getting stoned at my very first meeting, would anybody consider 2 meetings a month until don't all like,
The only hard part about that is anything that's a public hearing, you have to be in the paper not more than 20.
I
but at least
understand, but
15
they did
days.
used to meet
Yeah. it's
before
just-
short-term rentals, so I'm just, to
Yeah.
lighten the load, I'm just throwing it out there.
It may make for a shorter meeting, it doesn't really lighten the load because it's,
I understand, I'm just throwing it out
keeping
there.
track of the notice requirements to ensure
I feel the daggers already.
is hard.
I think we approve 4 a month, that's sufficient. You wanna limit how many there are in town? That's one way to limit it.
Well, I know, I'm just throwing, I understand, I
The other
get it.
piece is just, they need a fire inspection, they need the building inspection, the police
Right.
inspection, so
This is a way of slowing it down, you're right, Jerry, I
And
agree, I agree.
July 1 is renewal, so it's, the other hard part is you can't, even if you put all of them on one agenda, they can't all move that fast
Right.
because they take staff resources across all town departments.
Right.
Do all the renewals have to come before us?
No, renewals don't, but all renewals require a fire inspection, and anybody that's taken a building permit requires an additional building inspection, and they're all police checked again.
Okay.
So, yeah, and there's 52 right now.
I'm so,
Glad somebody asked the question besides me, hard surfaces, cause I knew you meant impervious surfaces, but I didn't know what kind of hard surfaces, so gravel counts as a hard surface.
Gravel's not impervious.
It's not impervious?
Yeah, because you could get drainage through, but gravel would be hard surface.
All right, then item number 25 is the next meeting date and time, which is going to be June 14th, 2022 at 4:00 PM. And I will declare the meeting adjourned.
5:33 PM.
Thank you.